Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Fabric Espresso, this YouTube series directly coming from Microsoft Fabric product group. And today we are going to focus on not data engineering, but on the data science part because Misha is joining us as she joined us twice or three times to talk about automated machine learning and the recent enhancement, recent updates. Misha, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So could you recap what are the items you are working on and what are the key new changes that you have introduced in automated machine learning?
Yeah, so a few months ago, we had released Code AutoML. And really, that was an integration that we had done with an open source library that came out of Microsoft Research a few years ago called Flammel. And what we did a few months ago was we released it, we deeply integrated it into the Fabric product. And so as you're creating different AutoML trials, you'd see that all of your different iterations, all of your different trials would be tracked in your machine learning experiments and models. And so our most recent release, what we're announcing at Ignite, will be an evolution of that, right? Now that you have all the code first APIs, what we're layering on is a low code UI, which allows data scientists, analysts, any kind of user to come into Fabric and start getting started with building machine learning models through AutoML. And so very exciting release. It's a very simple, easy to use UI. And so we're really interested and really excited to see more users start coming into the machine learning flows.
Awesome. So the last time you presented automated machine learning, AutoML, that was related to the code experience, meaning that we needed to code basically the experiments to find the best model. And right now the key change is that there is just a UI. I assume that's similar to the UI that is available in Azure Machine Learning. So basically I can select the group of
Mhm.
algorithms. So the objective, regression, classification, that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, as part of our low code experience, it's really simple to get started, right? All you have to do is pick your lakehouse. Then you tell us what machine learning task you want. And so, in this case, if you're, say, picking like a classification example, it'll walk you through a few standard set of prompts in terms of, the modes that you might want to run. Like, are you looking for a quick prototype? Are you looking for a more performant mode that maybe runs a little bit longer and, experiments with more different kinds of models? And so, just through a few clicks, you can configure how you want your AutoML trial to run. And what's really cool is it'll spit back a notebook that templatizes a lot of the low code experience behind Flammel. And so you don't have to worry about knowing all the intricacies of, every different API and how to run it. It'll generate a template so you can go back and customize it. You can inspect how the AutoML trial was created. And so, a real big focus on transparency there. But as you run your AutoML notebook and the templated thing that's been created for you, you'll see all the different trials, all the iterations captured for you. All the models, with our MLflow integration, will capture things like the parameters, the metrics, the model files. And so very kind of simple, easy to use way of getting started with your ML experiences.
So just through the UI, I will get a code that is well written and with all the integration with MLflow included.
Yes, exactly.
I would love to ask about the context of this functionality. Who is the end user that you anticipate will get the benefit out of the automated ML UI side?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, as we were doing the development of AutoML, one of the things that we found was it's something that data scientists really want to be able to use, right? A lot of times they're coming into their machine learning flows, these projects, and, they just want to be able to do a benchmark or something quickly to prototype, what the results might be. And so it's a great way for data science to be able to do that, to be able to, just rapidly build machine learning models. But one of the other things that we found is that we had a lot of users that were analysts or maybe people who are a little familiar with Python, but they're not experts. But they also wanted to start coming into the data science workflow to also, start playing around with data science flows, start getting their feet wet with machine learning models. And so it's a really great way for us to be able to let these users access to Fabric and data science capabilities. And so our goal is really to simplify some of these workflows and make it such that all of these different kinds of users, whether you're an advanced data scientist or an analyst just getting started with machine learning, that you're able to come in and start building these kinds of capabilities.
I want to ask if the UI extension that you are releasing, announcing, is that compatible, fully compatible with AutoML from code experience?
Yes, exactly. So as you go through the AutoML UI, you'll see that we'll generate a templated notebook for you. And this is, you could have written this notebook yourself. You could have gone through all the code and all the APIs that are available on the docs, and you could have written this notebook. But what the AutoML UI does is it really simplifies some of that, where you don't need to worry about all of the different APIs that you should be able to call and how to configure and what settings to invoke. A lot of that has been templatized and kind of automated for you, so you don't need to worry about that. So all you have to really worry about is just running that notebook. If you want to do more customizations, you definitely can. And that's a core reason why we're giving users access to the notebook and the code that would be needed to create that AutoML trial. We really wanted to make sure that this whole process is transparent, that you have control over it. You can configure all of the different things. But at the end of the day, you do have that notebook, so you're able to reproduce your AutoML trial and even look at how that was generated.
Misha, can you share what are the scenarios when we should consider using AutoML?
Yeah, so AutoML supports a variety of tasks, everything from binary classification, multi-class classification, regression, forecasting. And so, we get a lot of different customer scenarios that we hear about. Forecasting definitely comes up a lot. So does things like classification. And like one example that I really like to use is, let's say I wanted to predict customer churn, right? The customers that might be leaving the bank or a particular organization. In this case, I might be working with a binary variable of, one if the customer exits, zero if they stay. And what I'm trying to predict is the customers that are likely to leave. And so here, what I can use the AutoML UI for, if I'm a data scientist, is to help me quickly get started with building a model that might help me predict some of these things, right? And so here, what I would do is I'd pick my machine learning task, which is classification. I'd pick the mode. So if I want just quick results, I might pick a prototype mode. And then I'll just go through a few different configurations, right? Do I want to run it using Spark, run it with pandas, and provide my final model files and experiment names? And then once I run that notebook that's created, you'll see all the different results, right? But again, a very easy way for you to say, hey, this is a machine learning problem that I want to be able to solve. This is the task that I need to be able to do. And then all I have to do is go through a few set of steps to get that final answer. So a lot of different tasks, other scenarios we hear about are things like forecasting, regression, but there's a lot that you can do and a lot that you can configure within this.
Yes, and our documentation is having all the list of there are dozens of algorithms. My favorite one time series forecasting, Arimax, autoregression moving, average with explanatory variables.
Yeah, a
Just
lot of
try.
different models. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different model types. And what's really cool is our code first experiences supported both single node models, right? Like things like scikit-learn, XGBoost.
Yeah.
We also supported Spark-based models, right? Or Synapse ML models. So these are distributed models that work
Yes.
across multiple nodes. And so the low code UI gives you an option if you want to run it in parallel with pandas or if you want to run it with Spark. And so, that's another great configuration that you can use to help, tune your AutoML trial.
Yeah, distributed model training. That's awesome. I can't wait to see the demo. Let's go.
Yeah, let's take a look.
AutoML in Fabric simplifies building and deploying machine learning models with minimal effort. So let's take a look at how we can create an AutoML trial from a Fabric experiment item. First, I'll explore and select from my available lakehouses. Once I've chosen a lakehouse, I can then select the files or tables within it to use for my AutoML trial. Next, I'll select my AutoML task. For this scenario, I want to build a churn classification model. After that, I'll then select my AutoML mode. Since I want quick and speedy results, here I'll opt for the prototype mode. Now I'll select my prediction column, the exited field. Finally, I can select how I want to run my AutoML trial using Spark. After reviewing my selections, the AutoML wizard generates a customized notebook based on my chosen parameters. This notebook not only allows me to further refine the model, but also provides reproducible workflow for future use. Last, once I run my AutoML notebook, I can easily track the best performing model from my AutoML trial. This is powered by our MLflow integration, ensuring that each model logs the key metrics, parameters, and model files necessary for reproducibility. I can also inspect and compare all the other models that were explored during this trial with ease. With these tools at hand, AutoML and Fabric streamlines the entire process, making it easier than ever to build, track, and optimize machine learning models.
Misha, thanks for doing this amazing demo. Now I want to ask, what's the release stage of this functionality and what's the plan to make it generally available. And here the caveat is we need to explain it. Generally available means that there is a SLA coming from Microsoft Azure, and we recommend you can use it for production workloads. For the preview features, we really recommend you to try it, but at the same time, there is no recommendation to use it for production scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the AutoML feature is already available on both the code first and low code UI. And so you can look through Microsoft Docs and you'll find links of how you can access the low code AutoML experience. All you need is a capacity where you can run Spark. The other thing is we don't have a GA timeframe just yet. This is just coming into public preview. But what we would love is for feedback in terms of the features you'd like to see, what you like, what you don't like. And you can surface some of this feedback through ideas.fabric.com. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Good, awesome. So just leaving the link ideasfabricmicrosoft.com for double resonance with you. And Misha, thanks a lot for joining us today and for sharing the great news, because that will for sure simplify getting started with automated machine learning. And for those who are watching us, please remember to leave the comment, like button, subscribe to the channel. And until the next time, happy exploring, taking the role of data scientist and training your model just with leveraging automated machine learning without coding. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks all.